Well, thank you, Chairman Gallagher, for organizing this very important hearing, and thank you to the witnesses for your very insightful testimony. Reading recent press reports, it appears that the Biden administration is poised to impose new restrictions on American investments in Chinese companies, especially companies involved in quantum computing, AI, and semiconductors. Now, the U.S. already prohibits U.S. companies from directly selling certain advanced technology to China, but this would be the first time that we target equity, private equity, and venture capital investment in highly strategic sectors. It looks like they're going to prohibit investments in sensitive military and surveillance technologies, and then require greater transparency reporting of different private investments there. Others are calling this unprecedented. How do you characterize this? What do you see? How do you think China will react, and what can we anticipate from the private equity companies? Ms. Lansbury, I start with you.
Well, unprecedented means, I think that's a positive. Unprecedented means it's new. There are a lot of private equity companies who don't have the same disclosure requirements because they're private. We don't know what they're investing in. And also, you know, there are lots of Chinese state-owned funds that these funds this money is going into, which are then doing the same thing that we've just been talking about, which is investing in the state-owned enterprises, and that is all, you know, especially in the high-tech sectors, mission is to replace American competitiveness. So I think it's unprecedented in this case is positive. Some larger scrutiny on private equity firms and what they're doing is not a bad thing. And again, it doesn't mean you can't invest. It just means look a little bit more under the hood and find out what it is they're investing in.
Mr. Kazi.
Yeah, you know, I think a lot of folks have been arguing, well, some, including Derek Scissors, who's a colleague of mine, has been arguing for a long time to have a reverse CFIUS in place, right? And some of this outbound investment stuff is supposed to get at that, although this is supposed to be very minor compared to what a reverse CFIUS would look like. Look, there's always going to be industry pushback, but the job of Congress needs to be, as I've said, I think earlier tonight, to increasingly specify what the red lines are, to increasingly specify what the threats are. That clarity in the long run is actually a good thing.
So, and maybe even if that's done by executive order, Congress, do you recommend Congress maybe codify that?
I think folks in Congress have some expansive ideas. I think a debate needs to certainly take place around what a stronger version could look like.
Mr. Shum, do you have an insight on that as well?
I think two things to say. One is actually direct investment fund into China, fundraising of it is already collapsing. This first quarter, China raised foreign investment into China is 20 billion. Last year, first quarter, is 100 billion. So it's a drop of 80% and compared to COVID year. So direct investment to China is collapsing. The second thing is while US is looking into restriction, actually China is doing the same thing. They are restricting foreign company to investing into their own high-tech company because their view of national security. So there is a push on both sides actually on this issue. And then to illustrate that, I think that is the reason Sequoia, which is the biggest venture capital investor in China by far, is separated. They separate into a China unit and an American and India unit, and China unit will only do China. So there is a force pushing on this from both sides.
And then on the other side, Ms. Lansbury, you said in your testimony you would recommend that the Congress invest in reshoring America's supply chain infrastructure, consider tax credits, purchase credit assessments. So the Congress, we took major steps to strengthen America's economy by enacting the CHIPS and Science Act, the infrastructure law, the Inflation Reduction Act. Do you see these as working, and how would you improve upon them?
I think that's the first step. I do think that it's it does need to be said that these that is going to the products will be more expensive. So how do you incentivize the other companies that need these products, a part of the CHIPS Act, to actually buy them? And so for the range of users here in this country, and not to mention allies, I think that's something that is really important. Look at ways of bringing that purchase back.
Thank you very much.